What is up, guys? Welcome back to another episode on EI Entertainment Studios, back at it with another debate episode. Today's debate episode, we're going to be talking about Mechagodzilla 2021 versus Shin Ghidorah. So here's the plan, folks. We're going to analyze these two giant creatures, go over their backstories, their characteristics, basically analyze them, as I said, and then we're going to put them up against each other in a death battle. But before we do, let's go and do the analyzation right now. Let's begin with Shin King Ghidorah, or we can just call him Shin Ghidorah. So Shin Ghidorah came to be when aliens who had the power of time traveling were able to travel back in time to godzillasaurus and pick up the Ghidorah babies, aka the Dorats, and time travel them back to 2016 and replace the existence of Shin Godzilla with the three Dorats instead. So the nuclear waste would be present to the Dorats and not Shin Godzilla until this very day Shin Ghidorah reigns as a king. Very interesting. Instead of Shin Godzilla, the three Dorats were put in place with the same mutation can take into the three Dorats that it did to Shin Godzilla, so therefore we have Shin Ghidorah. Height of Shin Ghidorah is 192 meters tall. Abilities, I'm going to do a quick skim. I'm going to come back to this, so do not worry. Death Ray, Eye Lasers, Wing Blast, Adaptation Ability, Space Impact, Tail Flesh Ripper, Negative Gravity Beam. Aggression is high, Territorial level is low. Biome is Earth and Space. Now, I will give a disclaimer. If you are a constant viewer of this debate series, you will notice that this is not the first time that Shin Ghidorah has made an appearance. Although the abilities will have the same names, some of their functionalities may be different, as I've tried to evolve them and make them better as I go. So, some of them might have different functionalities here and there, so I just want to let you guys know that. But anyways, let's go back to the abilities and let's do a deep analysis. So, first we have is the Death Ray. Basically, this is almost similar, almost the same ray that Shin Godzilla had, which is the atomic laser, but this is a Death Ray. And basically, it could come out from any part of the body, including the three heads, or any pore of the skin around the whole body, the wings, everywhere. And basically, it's a very, very powerful laser. And the reason why it's a Death Razor, because it literally cuts through flesh at over 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Alright, next we have eye lasers. This is a more focused laser, so it could potentially be more dangerous, but it's a more focused laser and it comes from the eyes, and it's better known to cut through glass, very, very thick glass, or pure steel, all that cool stuff. That's what the eye laser does, and they could really easily rip up flesh, right? Next we have Wing Blast. Shin Ghidorah can actually close its wings and supercharge them and then open them back up. As it's opening the wings up, it does a huge explosion which could destroy anything within a 3 to 4 mile radius, which is extremely powerful. Alright, now moving on. Adaptation ability comes from the evolutionary trait, and it can basically adapt and evolve to any biome or given situation, just like Shin Godzilla did with Form 1, Form 2, Form 3, Form 4, right? Next we have Space Impact. This is interesting. Shin Ghidorah can actually make meteorites or even giant meteors fall from the sky on a given point, so it can actually make meteors fall onto its opponent. Next we have the Tail Flesh Ripper. The end of the tail, there is a very sharp end, and it can actually rip up flesh or anything that it wants to. It's like a giant sword in the back of Shin Ghidorah. And then finally we have the Negative Gravity Beam. Out of all those lasers we talked about, this is one of the most deadliest lasers. It is the Negative Gravity Beam, and what does it do? It destroys gravity at that given area, and it crushes everything on negative pressure. Organs, buildings, body parts, as I said, everything will be crushed with anti-gravity, the Negative Gravity Beam. Okay, this is gonna sum up Shin Ghidorah, Mecha Godzilla. Mechagodzilla was created by Apex Cybernetics and powered through King Ghidorah's cut-off head. However, Ghidorah's consciousness takes over the robot and is now the actual Mechagodzilla. Abilities, we're gonna do a quick skim. Buzzsaw claws, heavy metal durability, missiles, proton scream, thrusters, and tail drill. Territorial level is none. Aggression is maximum, biome is Earth, and height is approximately 119.8 meters tall. So, let's go back to the abilities. Buzzsaw claws, I've said this multiple times, I'll say it again. It's very similar to Gigan's chainsaw, but this is on the claws, and his claws could basically become a buzzsaw, and they can just rip up flesh or anything that's in its way. Next we have the heavy metal durability. This is just the makeup of Mechagodzilla himself. He has a very powerful structure and he's pretty difficult to break apart. It's going to need at least 2 monsters pulling him apart for him to have any damage of some sort. He also has missiles on his shoulders. However, the missiles are not powerful enough to kill anything, but they're there to stun, which is very good for offensive or even defensive tactics. After that, we have the Proton Scream, which is basically something very similar to Godzilla's Atomic Breath, but something even more powerful. As we saw in the film Godzilla vs. Kong, the Proton Scream overpowered the Atomic Breath. So it's red, and it's electrical, and it just absolutely destroys everything. Thrusters is basically a rocket thruster. He could thrust from left to right, and he could do that to ram into his opponents or even get away. And finally, he has the tail drill, literally a drill on the end of his tail. You could use it to stab opponents or do whatever he needs to do. Okay folks, that's gonna sum up both of these kaijus. Let's put them up against each other in the death battle. Now, I'm gonna explain this before we go into it. We're gonna do close range and far range. Now, why do I do this? Far range, some of the abilities of these opponents are going to be limited. You can't use, obviously they can't use all abilities in a far range perspective, so we test them out at a limited capability. We see who can still win when some of their abilities are restricted. Very good way of testing them out. And then we have close range, which is all out war. Now we're going to start off with far range, and here are the rules. They cannot come closer than 700 meters. That means they are 700 meters apart at all times, which then means there is no, absolutely no physical contact. So, with that being said, let's see what abilities Mechagodzilla can or cannot use in terms of far range of 700 meters apart. Buzzsaw claws will need physical touch to work, so no. Heavy metal durability has nothing to do with that. Missiles, those specific missiles will not travel that far, so no. Proton Scream, yes. Thrusters, defensive, yes. Tail Drill, no. So basically, just the Proton Scream, which is the very powerful atomic breath thingy. And then for Shin Ghidorah, Death Ray will work, Eye Lasers will work, Wing Blast will work. Adaptation has nothing to do with distance. Space Impact will work. Tail Flesh Ripple will not work. Negative Gravity Beam will also work. So almost everything, almost, not everything, but almost everything. The most important ones Shin Ghidorah can actually utilize. So in a far distance scenario, I believe that Mechagodzilla is going to be the one to attack first. And technically, this is technically King Ghidorah versus Shin Ghidorah, because it's the consciousness of Ghidorah in Mechagodzilla. I just thought that was interesting. But, and the only thing, and as I said, Mechagodzilla is going to be the first one to attack, and the only thing he can use at this battle is the Proton Scream. Now that Proton Scream, don't underestimate it, it's going to do a lot, and I mean a lot of damage. And that's going to be really bad for Shin Ghidorah because it's going to cut off. I promise you, one of the wings are already gone. Once Mechagodzilla uses that, the wing is cut off straight. So the one ability that he can use, which is known as the Wing Blast, is now cancelled out. He cannot use that because he has one less wing. But he does have the Negative Gravity Beam and the Death Ray. And with those two combined, he can still completely obliterate Mechagodzilla. So even without the wings, those two abilities, from a far distance perspective, Shin Ghidorah can use a negative gravity beam and the death ray, and that will automatically destroy that robot. So I don't see any other way. So therefore, far range, even though some of the wings, some of the parts of the wings are gone, I still believe that he is going to win. So I'm going to say 1-0 for Shin Ghidorah in terms of far range. Now let's go to close range, where it's all-out war and it's face-to-face. So let's take this into perspective, though. Shin Ghidorah is 192 meters tall. Mechagodzilla is 119.8 meters tall. So there is a pretty big difference here. So face-to-face, I still believe, even though Mechagodzilla is smaller, that he can still overpower Shin Ghidorah. With the thrusters, he's going to thrust into Shin Ghidorah and completely throw him down. And from there, there's going to come the powerful punching. Remember, he is pure steel. Powerful punching. He can even get the heads and rip off the heads of Shin Ghidorah. So even though all of these abilities we're talking about for Shin Ghidorah, I still believe that Mechagodzilla with the thrusters is definitely going to keep Shin Ghidorah on the ground. He's going to keep on pushing him out, and it's just going to be too much. And with the powerful claws, the Buzzsaw claws, and the Proton Scream, I believe that Mechagodzilla will actually win in close range, making it a tie. So that means we're going to go to overtime. And basically, we're just going to go off the abilities. Just this is pure abilities. We're not looking at the monsters. We're not looking at the hype. We're going to go over pure abilities. Whoever has the better abilities will win for overtime. So, Mechagodzilla goes as follows. Buzzsaw claws, heavy metal durability, missiles, Proton Scream, thrusters, tail drill. Shin Ghidorah goes as follows. Death Ray, eye lasers, wing blast, adaptation ability, space impact, tail flesh ripper, and negative gravity beam. So in my opinion, when I look at these two abilities, I'm gonna have to side with Shin Ghidorah having better abilities, making it 2-1 due to overtime. Now obviously you can debate me in the comment section below. This was a very good fight and very difficult fight to think about because it's hard to choose a side, but it is nice to say that Mechagodzilla did win the most important battle, which is the close range. But since Shin Ghidorah did win the far range, we had to go to overtime, and this is the outcome of overtime in my opinion. As I said, you can always debate me in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, have a great and wonderful day.